This is The Guide Gals, a modern, wedding-focused podcast by the experts at Here Comes the Guide. I'm Chelsea, a designer and inspired creative who's probably racked up over 9,000 hours on Pinterest, and the friend who's going to shoot it to you straight.
And I'm Caroline, a social media manager who is obsessed with dogs as ring bearers and will inevitably cry over your wedding video. We've seen it from all sides. We've been brides, planners, bridesmaids, and have worked with standout brands throughout the industry.
Think of us as an extension of your wedding party and hang out with us as we share the ins, outs, ups, and downs of the road to I do.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Guide Gals podcast. Today we're talking about everything you consider before saying yes to the dress.
So this is probably going to be one of, if not the most thought through and expensive shopping trips of your life. So we've got you covered on some important advice. We're going to break down the whole process so that you go into it feeling really prepared and not overwhelmed or like sick to your stomach about how much money you're spending.
But this is such a fun part of the process, and I love that we're talking about it today because it's just like, it's magical, truly. But obviously, before we get into any of the magic, we're going to talk about what we're drinking today, which we already know what the other person is drinking, but just so you know, they are frighteningly similar. So Chelsea, you go first.
Yeah, I've really gone off the rails. I am drinking a zero sugar A&W. It's really good, but like, why do I have this in the fridge? What I need, what my body is craving and begging for is water, but this is what I want.
This is so funny. And I think we talked about this in the last episode where like, we don't really, like we always go back to our normal things. That is so abnormal for you.
Yeah, it's delicious. My mom always used to drink diet cream soda, which is not easy to find. I don't know, following in her footsteps or something. Root beer is kind of similar.
For you. Pour moi. For me. It has a Diet Coke, and this is a go-to. This is something I drink almost every day. Let me crack it open.
Have to.
Crispy.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I love the diet sodas for us today. They're very, very cute. Also, has anyone noticed that for all of these episodes, we never talk about our outfits, but I feel like we always somewhat like compliment each other.
Yeah. And that's all I have to say on that.
Yeah. I'll just say great minds think alike.
We do kind of like mirror each other in some ways. Like the colors. We're in the same color family.
Yeah.
Let's dive in. So we're going to start out the episode by kind of just going in like an overview of wedding dress shopping, what to expect as you go in, and then we'll finish up with like some little categories where we think, you know, you should touch on before you start your journey or to prepare for the day. To avoid potential aggravation, it's good to have an overview of how this is typically done, how the selling works for it. So an example, wedding dress salons will only carry select styles of their featured designers. So this is confusing. Like if you go on Pinterest and you're just looking at dresses, it might seem like so much more simple than this. But of course, like instead of it being like specific brands, it's like wedding dresses all have like different designers. So if you just pick any old salon or boutique or whatever to go into, you'll have to know that they will carry like certain specific designers, but not others. So it's probably pretty likely that they will have an assortment of silhouettes. So if you're not like married to, pun intended, the idea of like a specific designer, maybe you just have like a silhouette in mind, you'll probably be okay, like in good shape to go into some different stores, especially if you're just going to go to one like a David's Bridal or something like that. They're going to have like a very wide array of stuff. But if you like are on Pinterest, for example, and you see like a specific dress and you're like, oh my God, I really love that. And maybe you even know it's by a specific designer. Even if you see online that a salon or boutique or whatever carries that specific designer, it does not mean that they're going to have their complete collection. So kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
But so if you do have like a specific designer in mind, make sure that you know where they're going. And they even do like a thing called trunk shows as well, where maybe they will bring in like designers that they don't typically, like guest designers to a boutique. something like that. Or like if they're doing a specific trunk show for a certain designer, they will have all of their dresses maybe, or all of their current ones. These are some questions to ask if you have something specific in mind, like a certain designer in mind.
Yeah. Even like, well, guys, a drinking game for us, it wouldn't be fun, is how many times we mentioned Anthropologie weddings. Even when I went to shop at Anthropologie, there were a couple silhouettes that I really wanted to try on. Even at their stores, like that's the designer's store, sort of. They don't have all of the silhouettes. And so I would have had to travel and like tried on some elsewhere. Sorry, not silhouettes. They didn't have all of the like specific dresses. They had a bunch of different silhouettes, but still got to try on a bunch of different ones. Or there was a specific dress that I wanted to go and try on. They didn't have the right color of it. They like came in blush or like a gray undertone. Tried on the gray undertone, so I still got an idea of it. Anyways, if you do have your heart set on a particular dress, send the salon images of that dress or of similar styles and ask if they have anything along those lines. So just to get you guys prepped beforehand, like send things ahead of time, just so they're on the same page with you too. They know what you're looking for, and they can have those things pulled, or they may be able to find ways to get that specific dress to them before you go and try them on. So that's just a pro tip from us. Just a story, because I feel like we'll never be able to talk about this on any other episode. You were talking about designers. Hayley Paige, right? You've probably seen Hayley Paige dresses, right?
They were like the biggest deal at a time. And I think that time has passed, right?
Well, okay, so the reason that time has passed, I think, is because of like this whole lawsuit. So there are tons of wedding dress designers out there, some seriously amazing ones. And it's really cool to see like these specific people who their whole career, or just a majority of their career, is around wedding dresses. It's cool to see what they come up with, because it's a big event, your wedding, and having a dress to match that is so cool. So Hayley Paige, huge designer for a long time. I think it was in 2020 that there was this huge lawsuit that came out. It might have even been before that, I can't remember. But Hayley Paige, that designer, and I believe that's her first name and middle name, was sued for a do not compete. So she left the organization or whatever company she was designing with. All of these designs, all of these Hayley Paige dresses were her designs. She left, and they technically still had property rights over those designs and over the name Hayley Paige. She could no longer use her legal name because of this, how like tight this do not compete was. Or I don't know if do not compete is the right terminology for it, but you get the idea. So I think Hayley Paige dresses really started to get the downfall because this was a huge lawsuit, and it's still continuing to this day, and sets the precedent for a lot of other do not competes and a lot of other designers, that this slimy company is not allowing her to use her legal name. Actually, she had to change her name, and she's no longer allowed to design wedding dresses, which is crazy to me because she was like, so like a lot of her designs were so groundbreaking, and like she was huge in the industry. She's no longer allowed to design wedding dresses, even under a different name. Had to change her name. Now she is called Cheval, which is the French word for horse. And so her Instagram is She Is Cheval, and actually her other Instagram is called All That Glitters. And she shares a lot of her story there about what she's been going through, and she has to stay very vague about it. But now she's designing shoes, and it's really fun to see her still continue design in a different way. But isn't that crazy? Like, there's some background on the wedding dress industry in case you didn't know.
I didn't even know. That's like, shame on. Do you know the company's name?
No, I'll search for it.
Yeah, that is like such a shame, because I really remember like back in the days where I had like no business of even thinking about like I feel like when I was in like high school and I was like watching Say Yes to the Dress, I was like, oh, Hayley Paige, like, yeah, that's the designer to so that is so upsetting. And are the shoes that she's designing now wedding related?
Not really. They are just like special event shoes. They are very expensive. I've looked into some of them, and some of them I guess are like could be worn for weddings, but I think possibly part of her non-compete is that she can't do anything wedding related. I'm not really sure. Also, I just like, now that I've searched it, they also took over her Hayley Paige, like all of her social media. Like, she wasn't allowed to have any of that anymore.
Crazy. So she must have left the company that she was with because it was a bad fit. It was like no longer a good fit. Correct? Because
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, that's like her whole legacy. Like, that's like, I know that name. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people know that name, not just like people in the wedding industry. I like so think that like we all of us should just abolish do not competes. Like, we're on like a major side note tangent at this point, but like a lot of times people in like their career that they're in learn a lot of valuable skills, and those should be transferable. No? Like,
Right? You would think. I think do not competes protect the wrong people. I think especially in this instance, it is protecting the big business that already has the money, that already has like a bunch of resources, and it totally changed this woman's life. And I think that is so scary and awful that this form of design, her creativity was stifled in such a way and taken away from her. And I like, so this tangent, everyone, justice for Haley Page / She is Cheval. Check out her designs, look into her story, because I think at the end of the day, like, I just hope that this lawsuit, this instance, can change the game for future designers and future instances.
yeah, I'm upset. I'm very
I know.
upset now.
Isn't that crazy?
That is
Anyways.
crazy. And yeah, no, I'm glad we went down that road. I
Now everyone
guess to
knows.
like jump back in and continue on, just an overview of dress shopping. We had lots to say about designers. That's where we've left off. So another thing to think about is, so wedding dresses, unless like is the instance where you're buying off of a rack, but I mean, most wedding dresses are going to be made to order. So when you go into the store, it's different than like shopping for jeans. What a horrible time that is. It's different from than shopping from jeans, because you can't like say like, okay, I'm gonna grab like three sizes that like I know I might work best, and I'm gonna go in the room and try them on. No, it is not that way. So stores typically carry sample sizes in like 8s and 10s. It does complicate things a little bit further, because the stuff that you're trying on, it might be exactly your size. That's great, but it's not. It's likely not going to fit you exactly, and that's okay. So it does make things a little bit more difficult. But you're trying it on to get the general idea of what you like. A lot of dresses will, or sorry, a lot of shops will, like, if it's like a little bit big on you, we'll do things like clips and stuff to like try to give you the best picture possible as to like how it will fit when it's made for your body and like fitted to you.
Right.
Yeah, but that is something to keep in mind. If you didn't know that already, you're not going to be just like trying on
You're so,
for
yeah.
size. Like, that's not what it is. It's like trying on for silhouette, dress type, all of that. So speaking of those styles, so there is kind of like a bridal fashion vocabulary, and you'll probably want to become somewhat familiar with this a little bit. And if you're not, I think that the best thing to do would be to like pull up your Pinterest account and show photos. And that is a great place to start. Get on Pinterest, start pinning dresses that you like. And as you pin them, you'll just see in like the pin titles and descriptions what styles those are. But if you're able to communicate with your stylist or whatever they're called,
Yeah.
while you're in there, what styles you are most drawn to, that'll be super helpful. So like some examples like ball gown, trumpet, drop
Yeah.
lace, sweetheart neckline, like, you
Right.
know, there are lots of words there. I don't know if we need to have like a vocabulary lesson per se, but pictures, visuals are going to be very helpful in
Totally.
figuring that out.
Yeah, and I also would say, like, yes, there is a lot of terminology. There are a lot of different types of dresses. Okay, there's lots of different types
Yeah.
out there, which is awesome. And you may come into, like, as a pro tip, you may come into your appointment thinking, I want a ball gown, and you might walk out with a ball gown. Totally. As a pro tip, try on tons of different styles, tons of
Yeah.
different silhouettes. You never know what is going to surprise you. For me, I knew my body pretty well. I knew I kind of wanted a ball gown or A-line silhouette, and that is indeed what I walked out with. But I've gone shopping with my friends who wanted something like a ball gown, A-line, or something very simple, and my best friend walked out with this beautiful, like, very tight-fitting, like, very form-fitting beaded dress. Stunning on her, but that is not at all what she walked in thinking she would get. So this experience is very new, very different, and you may not have tried on all these different types of silhouettes before. So
Yeah.
take your time to find your groove and figure out, and you may narrow it down pretty quickly, but try on different silhouettes.
Yeah, I mean, emphasis on what you said about you probably haven't tried these on before. Like maybe the last time you've tried on like formal dresses was like prom. Unless you go to like a bunch of like fancy charity events or something. Like
And
a lot of
also,
people aren't
yeah,
trying these on.
but my body was so different like when I was trying on prom
Yeah.
dresses. So what looked good on me in high school was not the same.
Yeah,
Was
your
not the same.
18-year-old body is not your adult body.
Yeah.
Unless you're like 19 right now. then maybe
And then
it is.
maybe.
Maybe it's the same. Yeah, and then the next thing to think about too is that most of these places do require an appointment. I think that you can go into certain bridal shops like those David's Bridals
Yep,
or
exactly. Yeah.
those. I think that you can go in, but it's even if you have your heart set on getting your dress at one of those places, it's better to make an appointment there as well. That way that you have someone to help you along the way, guaranteed. You'll get all the attention that you need. And I believe that at places like that, you still have the option to make an appointment. I believe. Yeah. So especially if you're wanting to go to more of like one of those boutique salons, the smaller ones, which probably will give you a much better experience, like a much more curated experience. You'll probably feel a lot more special at something like that. Totally up to you though. That's just what I would choose. But you can't just walk into those. Like you can't, like they're not like open. Well, maybe some of them are, but usually they're not like just like open from 10 to 6. Like, and you can't just like stroll in. It's like appointment only because it usually, from my experience of what I've seen from them, they're pretty small spaces. They can only accommodate so many people at a time. And the process that they provide is like very personalized and curated and special.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, keep that in mind. You will need to make an appointment.
appointment.
So just look it up, like the place that you want to go, look it up online, give them a call. And you'll be able to do that. Okay, the last thing to think about is how long it's going to take to actually get your dress. So how far in advance do you need to start dress shopping? So figuring out what style you want, you'll want to do pretty quick. This doesn't take so much effort. This is really just going to be like involved in your early wedding planning stages anyway, figuring out what general style you want for your wedding. And like the rest is really going to fall into place there with your wardrobe. So getting on Pinterest, figuring out what you're drawn to, making sure that it matches the venue and like the general vibe of what your wedding is going to be. And then from there, you want to start making appointments like pretty far in advance. So it can take like 6 to 8 months to get your dress back. So go ahead and do the math and backtrack from there. So allow yourself plenty of time.
Yep.
Allow yourself plenty of time.
Yes.
I will say that.
Yeah. I want to add one more thing in terms of the overview of dress shopping. Depending on the place that you go to, you will be able to pull dresses off the rack and be like, I want to try this one on. Like you can walk around, look at different things. And there are some places where the stylist will be pulling things for you. That's great because they have a lot of expertise and, know the dresses really well. But I wanted to mention this because I have experienced, not personally, I didn't experience this, but I've watched my friends or other people experience stylists who were a little bit more of like a bulldozer and thinking like, yeah, they have a lot of expertise, they know best, but they weren't being heard. So I just want to mention this as like, be aware of what you might walk into. You might walk into an experience where like a stylist is pulling dresses for you, but you need to hold fast to what you want. And don't be afraid to say, this is what I want. Yeah. And it's a weird industry. And a lot of times, like, even the experience that I had where I pulled my own dresses at David's Bridal, the stylist, the person who was like the salesperson there, bad experience. And I didn't know that was what I was walking into. And so I just wanted to mention that as like, note that you may walk into an experience where you pull the dresses, where someone else might pull the dresses, or you feel like they're boxing you into an option or a style. Feel free to be like, this is not what I'm asking for. This is not it. We need to go in a different direction. Because ultimately, it's your day, it's your dress, it's your money you're putting down for it. So be aware that there are different types of scenarios you can walk into.
Yeah, I have to chime in on that because I never had a bad experience myself either. But I went with one of my best friends wedding dress shopping, and I have this is the one and only time I have ever left a bad review like for a business was when
Yeah.
we went to this wedding dress shop, and it was one of the bigger ones. It wasn't a David's Bridal, but I think they have multiple locations. I'm not going to say it, but we went in there and my friend was pregnant, and so like she was feeling like a little like uncomfortable in her body anyway, and she was gonna be more pregnant like on the day of her wedding, and she needed a quick turnaround. It was a place that had off the rack options. That's all fine. But yeah, the stylist, the salesperson, whatever you want to call it, she was rude. She put her down, and that just like sucked. And if I was her, I wish that we would have just walked out and gone somewhere else. Like just end
Yeah.
it there, because like this is supposed to feel special. It's supposed to be fun. Although like I know some people have different views about how fun trying on clothes is. Like, I mean, I think like a lot of people have had like an absolute like mental breakdown inside like a Kohl's fitting room when they're like 12 years old, like like trauma. But
Yeah.
so like that, but just read the reviews and stuff, and like if you're having a bad time, don't give them your money. Like there are so many places that will give you a really great experience. Give them your money. You know what I mean? And like,
Yes.
yeah, and if you're feeling like weird pressure or like uncomfortable, you're not having a good time, you are under
Yeah.
no obligation to buy a dress from
No.
that person or that store.
You also
So,
can 100% ask for somebody else to help you. And I wish, like,
oh yeah.
one of my friends was getting overwhelmed by just how, like, this woman was like, let's go, let's go, let's do this. Here's this option. I recommended an option and she was like, no. And I was like, oh, but I was recommending it because
Come
my friend
on.
said, my friend said, hey, can you try and get her to pull something like this? So I said, hey, can we pull something like this? And she said, no. Bizarre.
That's so weird.
Weird. Yeah. And I wish we would have been like, hey, pump the brakes. Can we get someone else to help us? Not in
Yeah.
like you're just not the right fit personality wise for us. Anyways, sorry. There are lots of wonderful people out there. I had a great experience with all the people at Anthropology Weddings. Didn't have a great experience with the person who helped me at David's Bridal, but I think she was just inexperienced. And that happened. So advocate for yourself in that experience. And that kind of segues into what we're going to talk about next, which is dress for success. Because in any experience that you want to have a good time, it's always good to dress up or make yourself feel
Yeah.
good before the experience. So with wedding dress shopping, this is not the time to not do your hair and makeup. In fact, it's really helpful to you to feel good, but then for you also to get the overall look and effect of the dress that you try on. So make sure if you feel comfortable putting on some makeup, that's a great thing. Put on your favorite perfume, really set the tone for what you want. Wear a bra that's going to be comfortable and easy to try on dresses with. Or if you're like me, sorry to all the people who helped me try on dresses, because I was just like, I cannot try on any of these with a bra on. So I was just like kind of naked. Whatever. And if you want to have Spanx or any shapewear on, that's also maybe a good opportunity to throw that on. Or some self tanner. I know I had gnarly tan lines, and that was definitely throwing me off in my experience. If you want your hair a specific way, think about doing a hairstyle on the day you're trying things on that's similar to that, so you get that effect. If you want to have your hair down, wear it down. If you want to have an updo, put it up so that you get the idea of the neckline with the dress. And also bring some shoes if you want to. If you're really getting serious in this process, bring some shoes that are going to help you pull it all together, figure out the height that you want, so you can get the full effect of a train. Or if you have something that is more of like a sheath style and your shoes will be showing, have those shoes on hand, or something that's similar. So just really give yourself the most prep and glam for the day that you can or is possible, because I think it's really going to help you figure out your dress in the long run.
It makes a huge difference. Like, seriously, like I know for me personally, and I think this is true for most people, like if I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh yeah, I look hideous and ugly, like I feel awful. Like I just feel, and it's usually my own doing. Like I did not take my hair out of the bun that it was in when I went to sleep last night, or I didn't like like I put on a giant sweatshirt that has like a mustard stain on or something. Like not like that's don't do that for that time. Like you really want to feel your most confident. So do the things to set yourself up for that. Whether that's like getting your nails done, I don't know, doing your hair in a certain way, all the things Caroline said. And yeah, big emphasis on the undergarments too. You might not know exactly the undergarments that you need for the specific dress that you'll end up with. But yeah, if you're like, I know that I feel more comfortable in shapewear and I will be wearing shapewear on the day of my wedding, bring the shapewear. Bring the shapewear.
It makes most sense, for sure.
And this goes along with it too. Like build yourself up. Like this might seem like, I don't know, like a little like silly, but like build yourself up. Like speak nicely to yourself. Like going into this, like maybe no, I'm not even going to say that. Like you are what you look like, and like you need to be happy with that. I don't know. I'm being like a little ridiculous, but like become the best version of yourself and like come to terms with that. And like you're beautiful, you look great, and just make sure that you're in a good headspace. And like I know that like sometimes like depending on the time of the month and like maybe some other factors, like you can just feel better about yourself during different times. Like relatable, like seriously, like I get it. But don't allow yourself to start like some extreme negative self-talk like right before you go into this. Also, like be mindful, like if you're like someone who can't handle like a bunch of Mexican food, it like makes you like really bloaty and like makes your skin break out or like makes you feel sick, do not eat that the night before. Or like oh my gosh, Bridesmaids, the scene in Bridesmaids, the movie Bridesmaids
that I haven't seen in years, but yeah.
Do you not know what I'm talking about? They're all very sick because they went to like a weird restaurant like before.
Oh, vaguely.
The people will know what I'm talking
about. You
about.
guys will know. I don't watch movies, so don't listen to me.
But yeah, go into it with a positive mindset. Like this is stuff where you might be like, okay, yeah, like duh, but like this is important. This is important. Yes. It will set yourself up.
Yes. And we're saying this because this experience can feel a little bit weird because you are going to be putting on beautiful dresses and being plopped in front of a mirror, maybe multiple mirrors. And it's definitely like could be a vulnerable time because you're making this decision and everybody's looking at you and your body's on display in a dress. Of course, you're not naked. But this is some time where they're going to be looking at you and your body in this dress. And I know for some people that can be kind of triggering or make you anxious. So definitely take the time to build yourself up, give yourself the confidence, make a playlist for the car ride over. Just like, get prepped mentally and emotionally in that way. And it might be weird to say, but you'll have a better experience if you do. And also kind of, again, segueing into our next point is to rely on the people that you are bringing with you. So a lot of times the appointments, you can't bring everybody with you, but picking that select few is really important. And yes, your mom typically comes with you, maybe your mother-in-law or just a mother figure, your sisters, your best friend, whoever that may be. As much as possible, invite the people who make you feel good. Yes, you may have an obligation to bring somebody who doesn't always make you feel good. So it's really important to bring other people who do.
But no, you don't. No, you don't have that obligation. Like, I think less is better.
Yeah.
It's if you have some people that have really big opinions, unless like you really, really love and trust their opinions that they always give you, like leave them out of it.
But like, I know some people who've had bad experiences with their mom and they're like, we feel like we have to bring our mom because traditionally you do, especially sometimes if the mom is paying for the dress. Ooh, like navigating that territory, hard. But yeah, if you can not bring that person, don't. Bring the people who are going to really like up the vibe. Or it's nice when salons have limits on how many people you can bring because then you can kind of naturally leave that person out. Be like, sorry, like there's not enough. Or you can also vary it every time. Like I didn't go to many places before I found my dress, but one time I brought my sister and my cousin, just the two of them, because we were just swinging through. It was like I wanted to try on the dress I wanted one more time. So I got to bring different people that time, and that was great because they were the perfect people to be like, yep, this is it. Not that I had a bad time with anyone else that I brought. I just think the first time I tried on dresses, everyone was like, whatever you want. And I was like, I need a little bit more than that. I need, like, yeah, thanks. But can we like have some constructive thoughts to help me decide? So it's good to have those people there. Also because, like, logistically, have them take pictures, have them take videos. So it's good to have somebody there to take pictures and videos so you can review them later. And that definitely helps the process. Helped me. I kept coming back to the same one, the same picture, the same video. And it really helped me figure out, like, what my heart was and where my gut was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sticking to my guns here, and I'm still gonna say, like, like the less people that you're able to bring is better. But I would say my last piece, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to beat this to death, but I am good at that. But if there are people that you are anticipating, like, are going to, like, you might butt heads with a little bit, maybe just have a talk beforehand, or maybe you're like, you anticipate with your mother, you might have a difficult time. Maybe you have a sibling that will also be there that you can say, like, can you please help me keep her in check? Just, like, prepare for it a little bit. But I also think that, like, really having too many opinions could confuse you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just had to go back and, like, give my thoughts.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know why. I was, like, sitting here thinking about it, but
it's because when we hear stories about those particular instances, they are so heartbreaking. And so if you can save yourself the heartache and the headache of that experience, we definitely want you to protect yourself from that.
And okay, the last thing that we're going to talk about on this subject today is trust your gut. I mean, a great thing to carry with you through all of your life. Trust your gut on all pieces of it. I know that we talked about this earlier, but if you're having, like, a bad time, if you don't like the person that you're working with, if something just doesn't feel right, it is more than okay to say, like, you know what? Like, I think I have a good idea for today, and I am going to keep shopping around. That is fine. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you're not even having a bad time. Maybe you're having a good time, but you've tried on, like, 20 dresses and you're, like, getting confused and overwhelmed. Like, you do not have to just pick a dress for the sake of checking it off the box and, like, getting that done. It's really expensive. Totally. It's really important. So, I mean, I know, like, myself, I'm like, oh my God, like, let's just get it over with. Like, I don't want to, I want this off the plate. Like, but I think it's worth it. Like, if you are feeling, like, overwhelmed and confused about it, to walk away and revisit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you're like, hey, I tried on 2 dresses, but, like, I know I want this one. Okay. You can trust your gut in that way as well.
Yes. I'm definitely a person who I have a hard time trusting my gut in the moment. So it helps me when I'm able to walk away. And then it, like, kind of solidifies my feelings about it. Like, again, in my instance, I kind of knew what dress I wanted, but I needed to walk away to solidify that. And even if I showed people pictures of the dresses I was deciding between, and they said, oh, I like this one better, like the dress that I wasn't leaning towards, I would have a feeling of, like, oh, I wish they would have said the other option.
Yeah.
Which is a good gauge of, like, if you show people 2 different options and you say that you like both equally, but you're disappointed by someone saying they like one option better than the other, then you have an answer for yourself. I use that to gauge a lot of my decisions in my life, where I'm like, I think I'm equally, I'll use this with my husband, and I'll say, okay, he'll say, between, like, Chinese and Mexican, what do you want to have tonight? Or I'll ask him that, and he's like, oh, I want Mexican. And I'll be like, ooh, well, I guess I actually had an opinion. I actually would like to go get Chinese. And he's like, okay, that's fine. Great. But I use that to gauge a lot of things. That may not work in this instance for you, but if you find yourself in a similar boat to me, where, like, trusting your gut is sometimes hard, because you like a lot of things, and navigating this is a hard decision, maybe use that.
Love it. I like that trick as well.
Yeah, it doesn't work for every instance, but maybe it'll work for you, just as a tip. lots of things we could continue to talk about. We'll stop ourselves there. Wedding dress shopping is amazing. And we have a lot of other articles on Here Comes the Guide that could help you with this process. Not even just with the wedding dress itself, but choosing bridesmaids dresses or choosing what a groom is going to wear or the bridal party in general. There are some resources on there for you. So definitely check them out if this has piqued your interest and you're thinking about other attire things as well. And a few episodes ago, we did talk about the wedding wardrobe breakdown. I believe it's episode 25, where we talk about some of the other wardrobe necessities that you might need outside of the wedding dress itself. But it's another good episode in tangent with this one to think about all of the things that you are going to be wearing or wanting for the whole wedding process.
Yeah. And like Caroline said, all those resources, there are so many on herecometheguide.com. That's where you can find them. There's a search function at the top of the website. So you can always like explore by clicking around. But if there's something specific that you want to read articles on, you can search for it and you'll probably find something on there. But we also have lots of resources for you, lots of free stuff on our website, which is theguidegalspodcast.com. You can find our full episode library there as well. You can also reach out to us on there if you have any questions. We'd love to hear from you guys. You can also find us on Instagram at the Guide Gals Podcast. We are on YouTube. Every episode has a video component, and that is on the Here Comes the Guide YouTube channel. And then lastly, we are on TikTok at the Guide Gals Pod. But yes, that's all we have for you today on this. Yeah. You should definitely go listen to episode 25 if you haven't yet, because clearly you care about what you're wearing on your wedding day.
Yeah. And we care too. Yeah. Until the next episode of us yapping more about wedding planning stuff, that's it. So
that's it.
Cheers.
Cheers.